you do not need a college degree to get a high-paying job at Google. And this is not just true for Google. This is true for so many of the world's best companies to work for, like Apple and Tesla. And what's ironic is you're actually more hireable at Google if you complete one of their courses. They have so many courses in UX, product management, software engineering that are literally like less than $300. In this video, we're going to discuss why traditional degree educations are losing value and how to actually figure out what you need to focus on depending on your goals. Most people blindly go to college not actually critically thinking what they're looking for from college. What do you actually want to do when you grow up? What do you actually want to be? How do you want to live your life? What kind of skills do you want to build? And how do you want to apply that to make money, right? There are 1,000,001 jobs that exist in the world, and quite literally only 2 require a college degree: doctor and lawyer. So what about the million others? How do you actually set yourself up for success? And which ones do college degrees actually help versus not? What is the point of going to college when some of the best companies and the best jobs in the world are not even hiring you based on the degree that you're getting? College is a very natural path that people blindly go into. They don't critically think about what they're actually going to do with that college degree. Is it actually worth it? Is there an ROI? People are just blindly going into getting a 6-figure student loan when they graduate college with no realistic idea of like how to ever pay that back and what they actually want to do to make a living to eventually pay that student loan back and also buy a house, start their life. At the end of the day, if you don't have clarity on why you're doing something, you should probably not do it. I think it's interesting how people will apply this very obvious principle to all parts of their life, but they're not thinking about that when it's about college. Obvious thing that they're going to send their kids to college, and it's something that we're told since we were literally 0 years old that we have to work hard in school and get A's and eventually get into college. And honestly, I don't blame our parents, right? Like, think about the generation that they grew up in and the world that they grew up in. For them, if they did not get a college degree, they weren't even going to be looked at by an employer. We also have to think about the economy. The economy looked very, very different during our parents' time, right? There was this belief that if you went to college and you got a degree, you would get a job, and then you would be able to take the money that you got from the job and like put it into a down payment and buy a house. That's not true anymore, right? Like, thousands of people are graduating from Harvard and Stanford and these top colleges and they don't have a job. Why? Because at the end of the day, right, if you don't have actual experience doing something, how would the employer know that when you come to the job that you can do the same job, right? So for example, if I want to be hired as a product designer and I apply to all these companies after I graduate, but I've never worked at a company before as a product designer, why would these companies hire me? If you were born in America and you went to some sort of school, I don't think these employers are wondering if you have an ability to turn in an assignment or to like actually show up to school or be able to have any sort of work ethic or retain information, right? Like, they're just assuming you have that. That just becomes table stakes, right? Now, all of a sudden, they need to know what is the next level information they need. Can you actually do the job that they're hiring for? Right? And in our parents' generation, there was a surplus of jobs. You just had to be competent and be able to be willing to work hard and learn by doing, and you would be able to get hired. First of all, the job market is like basically collapsing, right? There are more people unemployed than ever before. The job market is more competitive than ever before. Why? I mean, there's 2 main things, right? I'm not going to go into like the economic crisis and inflation, all these reasons why people are more unemployed, but what I will go into is like, think about basic tech trends, right? Now that AI is advancing, there are a lot more jobs that actually can be automated that we no longer need to hire for. And so there's simply less roles available. So then there are more people who are graduating. So the job market is actually that much more competitive. So if it's between candidate A, who's had experience as a product designer at a startup, versus candidate B, who's never had an internship, who do you think the employer is going to hire when they can only select one person and there's 50 people applying? They're going to hire the people who had the most experience. Now imagine, instead of going through a 4-year college degree, you actually spend 4 years working at startups and actually gaining a bunch of real life tangible experience. By the time you're 22, 21, whatever age you are graduating college, the other 21, 22-year-old who wants the same job as you is almost 100 times more qualified to get the job. They don't need to know at this point that you have like basic like ability to retain information and show up to school, because like, you were born in America, you went through some sort of educational system here that's like basically table stakes. They pretty much trust that at this point, right? Everything in life is built upon supply and demand, right? When there's an increased demand in jobs, but there's a lower supply of jobs, it's going to be much more competitive. It's just very simple. This is truly rooted in the fundamental philosophy of learn by doing, right? Like, someone who has spent 5 years sewing a shirt is going to be 1,000,000 times more successful at sewing a shirt than someone who has spent 0 time sewing a shirt, right? That is true for quite literally any job on the job market. In college, we don't learn how to sell products. We don't understand sales 101. We don't understand marketing, like how to actually create a TikTok video that goes viral so that you can sell your product. We don't actually learn supply operations. How do we actually get this MVP of a product that we built and get it on a Shopify website and actually get into the hands of our customers? We don't learn things like HR and like how to manage people, and we learn like the philosophical things that are not actually tangible in the real world environment, right? Even when it comes to like software engineering, which is probably the most direct skill, we don't actually learn how to build a website in your software engineering CS class. You learn the fundamental foundations of software engineering and problem solving, right? Which is so much farther removed than actually what you do on the job, which is you just build an app. Or if you want to be an entrepreneur and you want to build your own product, right? Like in class, they don't actually teach you 0 to 1 how to build a product, right? They'll give you these sophisticated data structure algorithms and they'll say, okay, here's this very abstract concept. And on the exam, they test you in ways that you never actually tested in real life. You can literally graduate from Harvard or Stanford, but if you have 0 internship experience under your belt, the person with 0 college degree with a ton of internships is 100,000 times more likely to get the job than you. Let that sink in. Now, you're saying that you're gonna be in a better place if you not only spend 4 years of tuition, but also lose 4 years of opportunity cost of actually learn by doing in real jobs that build you the experience to actually get the job that can possibly give you financial freedom. Now imagine instead you don't go to college. Not only do you have a couple $100,000 that you're not spending on your tuition, but you have 4 straight years of actually doing the work of gaining experience on skills that you actually want to eventually be hired for. And how do you gain skills on things you want to be hired for eventually? By doing the thing, doing the job, doing the internship, working your way up. The ways that you actually accelerate in your career, actually build wealth over time, happens through personal branding, networking, understanding personal finance, understanding investing. Quite literally 0 of those things are taught in school, and 100% of those things need to be done outside of classes. I can tell you something for sure. What year the Mayan civilization happened or any sort of Greek philosophy or literature I read in class did not help me make money today and be better at my job, be more employable, or eventually start a company. The things that have actually made me successful in life are my intellectual curiosity, my passion for learning, to think outside of the box and actually become 1% better. I didn't learn them in school. I had to build that within myself on my own. I went to the Ivy and Young Academy at USC. It was a 4-year degree in art, technology, and business, but really that degree was code for DIY your curriculum, DIY your degree. We didn't have structured curriculum. We didn't have structured exams. It was very much all about what do you want to do with your time in school. And to be honest, if I didn't get into that program, I probably wouldn't have gone to college. That's just the truth. I don't think my parents would have been very happy with that outcome, but that was something that I knew I needed. And the reason why the Ivy Young Academy did not have much curriculum there was because I was a second cohort. It was a brand new program. It was built for entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs succeed in ambiguity, not telling them what to do, not giving them the things to learn and allowing them to go learn the things that are best for them, that are best for their business. And so for me, that was the perfect program because I wanted to pursue entrepreneurship. And it was a perfect platform for me to actually do it in a way that was productive and get me to my goals. Very shortly after I graduated, they added a lot more structure to the curriculum, and I probably wouldn't have gone to that program if I was applying to college today. And the thing is, I don't even know any other colleges or programs that actually provide that same level of ambiguity and flexibility to figure out what you need to learn on your own terms. So today, if I were to applying, I definitely would not apply. I don't think that would be the right environment to set me up for success in terms of what I wanted in my life. The truth is, the reason why I was able to accomplish that so fast in my career was because of everything that I did outside of classes, outside the program. And I had plenty of time to do that because of the nature of the curriculum. For example, when I was a junior in college, I wanted a big tech software engineering internship because I knew that was going to be the technical expertise to get jobs as a product manager in the future, and then also to use that technical foundation as a way to build a tech company in the future as well. Or just in general, be in the know of things that were actually rapidly shifting the industry and influencing the way hundreds of thousands of people actually showed up in their lives and in their jobs in terms of productivity and effectiveness. And all this technology that was coming out, I knew that if I wanted to be a part of anything in the future, if I wanted to be a part of any innovation, I need to understand fundamentally how technology works. And there was no better way to do that than actually be in the weeds and build products myself at some of the big tech companies in the world. And so I went and taught myself how to code. The funny thing is, I actually enrolled in computer science classes in order to teach myself, but very quickly, within possibly weeks, I was 100 times more ahead of that class and teaching myself stuff, because the thing that they were quizzing me in the interviews, which was they needed to quiz me on certain things to see if I was able to do the job, none of that was covered in class. I had to learn it all fully on my own. And so at one point I was just like, well, what is the point of me actually paying attention in class, including the exam, the curriculum, because it's not helping me get to my goal. And I had 4 months to land this job, because the way that the recruiting timeline works for these sweet jobs is that I have to get them done before November. And November is basically when all hiring ends. That's like the first 3 months of my junior year. I had to figure out and learn all these things and prep this interview by myself. And I couldn't rely on any classwork or any coursework to give me that information, because none of it was covered in the actual interview. And the truth is, the only reason I had the flexibility to go and teach myself how to code literally from scratch because of the nature of my program and how it created this environment for you to go off on your own learning rabbit hole. Most college degrees do not provide that flexibility. Most college degrees, you're drowning in homework, you're drowning in assignments, you have a million classes to show up for, they take marks off for not showing in class. You have basically negative time to teach yourself the skills that you actually need to land the internship, to land the job eventually. I feel like that was the best job that I could do to learn the skills I would eventually need to be an entrepreneur. And so guess what I did to get the product management job? I taught myself how to actually do a product management interview, which had nothing to do with what I learned in school. And because I had a software engineering internship at LinkedIn, I was actually expedited to the final round interview basically within a week, because they knew that I already had the technical experience that I needed to be a product manager at a big tech company, and they just needed to test me for product skills. So I was literally expedited to the final round, and I was able to ace the final round and eventually get the job because I had spent 3 months on my own prepping myself for that interview. 90% of my time, my first semester senior year, went into the interview prep. But if you really think about all the reasons I'm an entrepreneur today, it has everything to do with the fact that I prepared for that moment, prepared for everything you need to know outside of class. You learn by doing. You don't learn by sitting in class. Now let's talk about what a college degree does actually give you, right? What it does give you is actually this structure and motivation to learn. It requires you to show up to class. It requires you to learn something, anything, right? 99% of people do not know how to create that structure and motivation and discipline in their life to show up and actually learn something every single day on their own time. It's easy to get away with not having it those 4 years in college. But when you graduate and you go into the real world and you realize that you don't actually have any of the skills that are employable and you're not able to get a job because of it, and then you need to find your own motivation and your own discipline to self-teach yourself skills so you can eventually land a job, so you can eventually make money. But you don't have any of that intrinsically. Guess what? You're going to fail and you're going to not get a job, and that 4-year degree will not matter. So the most important ingredient for success, which is intrinsic motivation and discipline, that school provides for you. At some point, you have to still provide that for yourself. And even though they do give you that up front, you still have to do the work to find it for yourself. And so why would you pay 6 figures to a school to give you this intrinsic motivation when at the end of the day, you're going to fail if you don't find it for yourself anyways? So maybe just work on finding ways to be motivated and have discipline to create your own destiny outside of societal structures, outside of the institution forcing you to do it, because that is quite literally the only way you're going to be successful in the future anyways. So you might as well buckle up and suck it up, figure out a way to find intrinsic motivation and discipline for you to show up every day and get 1% better at an income generating skill that you could eventually be hired for. Another totally reasonable argument here is like, well, what about the social skills that you build in college? You're surrounded by all these people your age, you get to experience life with them, you get to grow into an adult with them. Those are really pivotal, transformative experiences for what builds your character, what builds who you are. Okay, sure, that's super valid, but you can also surround yourself with other interns at startups, surround yourself at builder co-working spaces, go move to big cities where other kids have also dropped out of college, join communities, create your own community, and do that for yourself. Like, really ask yourself, do you want to pay, I don't know how much your tuition is, anywhere from $50,000 to $300,000. You're telling me that if I gave you $50,000 tomorrow, you couldn't find a way to make friends with like-minded people and create a social life for yourself? And I would even argue they would cost much less. So if you just literally went and got a job and then use that money to move to a city and hustle and live in a closet room and go join co-working spaces and go join communities to build that social life for yourself, you're going to actually end up in a lot better of a social situation because you're going to be around people who are similarly hustling and building their life and running after their goals as you are, not drinking their woes away Friday to Sunday, getting blackout drunk at a frat. I agree friendship is really important. I agree socialization is really important. And I also do not believe in working 24/7. Like, you need to have fun and hang out with your age. It's so critical. But school is not the only place where you can find that. School is a place where it's handed to you for free with no effort at all. You can say your parents are going to pay for it. It's fine. Okay, then that's great. That's awesome. Your parents are handing you a 6-figure gift to have friends and to show up to school and have forced discipline. If you think that's sick, great. I think if you're privileged enough to have that experience, then yes, you should definitely go for it. And then really think critically of how you can actually structure this 4-year degree around giving you the maximum time to explore stuff outside of classes, outside of school, so you can build income generating skills and eventually get paid for it, right? Can you join clubs? Can you start projects? Can you get a part-time internship during school? How can you start to build your resume from day one so when you graduate, you have enough experience where a company or an employer can be like, you know what? It actually makes sense why I should hire that person because they've done the job before in so many different ways and I can trust that. And when you're competing between you and everyone else who's graduating, well, it's a competition of who has had the most real industry experience in the thing that you're being hired for. And the person who has the most will always win that war. But guess what? Even in that situation, you still have to have inner discipline, inner motivation yourself. And you have to have curiosity and passion yourself, fully on your own, to be able to go outside of class and actually come up with projects on your own, find work on your own, find ways to build that experience. Like, that's still not something you're taught in class. That's still not something that you necessarily need the degree to do. And it's not our parents' fault that they're telling us to do that. It makes sense why they are. For them to get out of their cycle and actually create financial freedom for themselves, college degrees were required for them. So, of course, they think it's also required for us, right? Like, they just grew up in a different world. For them, they see it as an investment that's extremely worth it for them because they see it as like an insurance policy they're paying that will guarantee you have a job, guarantee you'll be able to create a life for yourself, guarantee you're able to have kids and create a life for them. I wish that was true. I wish I could sit here behind the mic and tell yourself, if you're lucky to be born with rich parents who can pay for all your tuition, take it, run with it. You've hit the lottery because you're guaranteed a great life. And when it comes to entrepreneurship, you can have parents that are willing to pay you $1 million, fund your company, whatever. But if you don't actually know how to run a company or build a good product or hire people or run sales or know how to market, you will have to fail and fail fast to figure it out. And there is no better way to figure out what to do and how to be good at it than actually doing the deed. And so why not just do it with the freedom and flexibility of time, because school is not being forced on you, and the extra money because you're not spending it on school. And I know what you're going to say, but my parents said I have to go. And they say it's the only reason for me to be successful. How can I prove to them that I don't have to go to college to actually be successful? Well, there's quite literally an infinite list of people who've done it before and have been successful dropping out from college. Bill Gates, Larry Ellison, Steve Jobs. You want women examples? Emma Grede from Good American. She's like built a bunch of Kardashian brands. She's super successful. Anna Wintour, she was editor-in-chief of Vogue. She's extremely successful. You could also say the opposite. Okay, but what about all the examples of people who did go to college and were successful? They're the exception. No, that is not causation. That is correlation. If you can successfully get through school, get through classes, that doesn't mean that you needed it to be successful. Obviously, if you're able to go through that discipline and get good grades and study and learn and be a quick learner, obviously that's an indication of your ability to execute, right? That's correlation. It's not causation. Really, what a college tuition does is it kind of just delays the money problem. It makes it socially acceptable for you to not immediately perform. And it says, hey, like, I'm in school, I'm figuring it out. It kind of gives you this label of, hey, it's socially acceptable to figure it out. That's really what school does. You're just delaying the money problem though, right? Instead of saying, I don't have a job now and it's okay that I don't have a job, you're saying, hey, I'm just going to take on this massive loan, this massive debt, and I'll just deal with it later. I'll deal with it when I get that job. But the entire 4 years, you're not actually building the skills and portfolio where you will eventually get that job. The way that you do that is all the stuff you do outside of class. extracurriculars, clubs you join, internships you have, the networking you do on LinkedIn, the personal brand you create, the startups you join, the products you build, right? These are the things that make you employable. Now, I'm sure you're wondering, great, I'm convinced I want to go to college. Now, what do I do to actually learn things, to actually eventually get an internship, to eventually start a company, whatever your goal is? The internet. There is nothing that you could possibly learn in school that doesn't also exist for free on the internet. Whether that's YouTube or even paying a tiny bit amount of money through doing things like Coursera and Udemy, and there's a million courses and certifications you can get online. There's boot camps for any skill that are 1,000 times less the price. But I still believe if you don't have $1 to spend, you can literally self-teach yourself anything on the internet. There's like infinite resources. But more importantly, if you want to get good at anything, you got to just do it. You want to be amazing at sales, pick up a random product, start selling it, start doing door-to-door sales, start to pick up and learn, get feedback from customers when they say no. Why are they saying no? Iterate your script, iterate how you call, iterate strategies to reach people. That is how you're going to be better at being sales. When it comes to marketing, how do you be good at marketing? Well, start to market some things. You can just market yourself, make content, write blogs, like whatever it is, like figure out what you're good at in marketing. How do people respond to things? How does human psychology work? Guess how you figure these things out. You put out content, you see what does well, and you iterate from there. That's how you become great at marketing. That's also the best part about being young. It is socially acceptable, a million times more socially acceptable to fail and be bad at things. And people are more likely to give you a chance because they don't expect you to know anything. At some point when you get in your late 20s like me, it's not socially acceptable for me to fail at things. I have to be good at it. But the thing is, someone who just picked up entrepreneurship a year ago is the same level of competent as me who started entrepreneurship a year ago. You know why? Because there's only one way to be a great entrepreneur. And it's like actually just try building a business. And like you learn from like the real life of doing it. So the fact that I'm in my late 20s and it's not socially acceptable for me to fail, but I still have the same advantage or disadvantage, you could say, as someone else who just started a year ago, maybe even if they're like 16 years old, right? We still know the same things because there's only one way to know it. So I would rather have that 4-year head start. So by the time I'm 21, like I've built like 10 businesses, I failed a million times. I know a million times more than anyone else building a business at that point. And by the time I'm in my late 20s, when it's less socially acceptable to fail, well, I'm not failing. I'm probably built a few massive companies at that point. So why not give yourself that 4-year head start? In fact, there's this fellowship that Peter Thiel, who's like one of the greatest entrepreneurs of our time, that started where it actually gives high schoolers who don't want to go to college $100,000 to start any business. And it doesn't even take equity in your company. It is such an amazing program. There's so many more and more programs like this popping up for young people to build businesses, help them take a chance to them, because people are realizing that the best entrepreneurs are not the ones who go to school. They're the ones who actually start really early because they have that many more years to fail and that many more chances to fail. And those who are willing to fail the most and those who are willing to fail the most fast are the ones who are the most successful entrepreneurs. And the best part about spending those 4 years like hustling and doing random gigs and working for random startups is by those end of those 4 years, you'll have some cash where you can actually invest that cash and actually even become richer and then use all your 4 years of experience to quite literally get any job in the world you want because you have so much experience behind you. Now, the goal of this video is not to tell you to not pursue education. I just want you to pursue education in the thing that you actually want to do in your life. If you want to be a doctor or a lawyer, truly and genuinely, you should definitely go to school. I highly recommend that. But if you want to do other things in your life, I want you to choose school knowing that you're doing school for a different reason, that it prepares you to be employable or it prepares you to be exceptional at this thing you want to do. There are so many reasons to do school, but it should never be because you think it's the reason why you're going to get a job in this market. College is just a longer, more expensive route to 99% of the jobs that exist. This is the reason why I'm creating this video. I want you to be educated and informed on that. I'm not telling you to not pursue college. I'm telling you that do it for the right reasons. Get educated on the why. Understand why you're investing this massive amount of money, what you're trying to gain out of it. Don't have really high expectations that this college degree is going to guarantee you a job. And then when you graduate and you don't have a job, you're disappointed and you're panicking and you're frustrated that you weren't able to use this as your security blanket. And at the end of the day, even if you understand everything that I'm saying in this video and you still want to go get a college degree for a reason completely different than what I didn't state here, perfect, amazing. I think that is a great decision. But I just don't want you to go and pursue a college degree not knowing the facts and truths about how people actually get hired in this market, how successful entrepreneurs are actually born and created. It was never because they showed up to class and got an A. Ultimately, the biggest ingredients for success are passion, curiosity, and motivation. So if you have that, whether you go to college or not, it's completely irrelevant. You are going to be so successful in anything you touch or do. So regardless of what you decide, make sure that you're continuously practicing those as your number one skills. How do you actually wake up every day super excited about learning, curious about things in the world, and motivated to hustle and wake up every day giving it your best shot? It's really important that you are able to be consistent at anything that you decide to do, that you have an open mind about learning new things, and that you're okay with the rejection and failure that comes with trying things. If there's anything you take away from this video, I hope it is that. And I hope that if you do go pursue a 4-year education, that you do it for the right reasons. You do it for something that you feel sure and confident for, that you just don't go into it blindly. I think this next generation is so different from the generation before, and we need to be that much more critical about making this decision and paying the big bucks to go to these universities that kind of selling this dream that unfortunately just doesn't exist anymore in this economy. If you are in college today or you graduated college or whatever it is, even if it's too late to go back on your choice, I challenge you to just spend 1 extra hour every day learning a new skill that maybe isn't taught in class, but is something that'll make you that much more hireable for whatever your dream job is, or that much more prepared to build your dream business. And whatever this new skill is that you've decided to commit to, comment below, share with me. I'd love to reply, tell you what I think. And please do not hesitate to ask me any questions about this topic. I think it's a lot more nuanced than I actually showed in this video. It can be incredibly complex. It is definitely a family decision. It's not something you can just wake up one day and drop out. And so I understand that there's a lot more that goes to it than simply just what is the job I want, what is the lifestyle I want to live. And I want to make sure that you're just going into it making an educated choice and really understanding where the world is going, because things are moving just so ridiculously fast. And honestly, at this point, it's getting very difficult to keep up with. It definitely sucks that, we've been told all our entire lives that a certain thing is true, when the fact of the matter is it was true. It's not like you will lie to us. It just isn't true anymore. And we have to now really do the work of educating ourselves and being prepared for this new world that is going to look very different, but honestly, very exciting, because you're saying that I no longer have to go through the multiple years of paying off a student debt, and that more companies than ever before are open-minded to people who don't have traditional educational systems and degrees behind them that have often been only accessible to the rich and the wealthy. That is already a screaming green flag of democratization of skill sets and privilege to get life-changing opportunities to build your dream life.